Welcome back to the Scoundrels Inc. podcast. I just got back from vacation on Hosnian Prime, and boy, I gotta tell you, that place has really gone downhill. Well, we're here to talk about Andor Season 1, Episode 10, One Way Out. Unlike Hosnian Prime, which has many ways because it's just a lot of pieces everywhere.
Oh.
It's more of an asteroid field, really.
And if this is your first episode of the podcast, go ahead and hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like, whatever. If it's not your first episode and you're not subscribed, what the hell are you doing?
Subscribe.
Just do it.
Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to our podcast feed, Spotify, Apple, wherever else you listen to podcasts. That help us out a lot. And, well, I think
Otherwise,
that's it. Right?
What happened to Hosnian Prime might just happen to you.
Damn. All right, so let's kick off this episode where, I mean, let's just start with the prison, because that's like the big thing. Obviously, we have the Mon Mothma stuff. We have the Luthen stuff, which is also great.
I want to really dive deep into the Ferrex arc.
The big Ferrex action going on in this episode.
It's pronounced Bix.
Yes. But the prison episode, we pick up right where we left off from the last episode. Ulaf is getting carted through the workspace zone, in front of everybody, which is weird because they brought him from the hallway through like that, all that, and then down into the work zone, through there to where I don't even know where, like an incinerator maybe, which was, but like
I think they just heave him off the side.
Maybe they were just like just yeet him off there. But
The Empire's not above littering.
They're not. They're not.
Nope.
A lot of space junk floating out around there.
Littering and
Loitering?
No, okay, never mind.
Smoking.
No one's seen Super Troopers?
Not in forever. Okay. Yeah, I don't have it
Is
memorized.
that a Star Wars
I mean,
show?
hey, look, you can't get mad at me. You didn't pick up on my Wedding Crashers quote before we started rolling.
I didn't.
So we're even now. Okay?
I think Super Troopers is more culturally relevant than Wedding Crashers.
I guess, it's not as also insensitive. Probably. Well, they're probably both.
Hold on. No.
Yeah, never mind.
Picture Wedding Crashers, but instead of crashing weddings, it's two guys that crash the defeat of the Empire at the end of Return of the Jedi. They go from planet to planet so that they can do each individual planetary celebration.
Those are called the Tag and Bink comics. Those actually exist.
They're not planet crashers. They're celebration crashers.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
we pick up with Cassian and
Kino
in the shower.
It looked like the
it's like the locker room right outside the shower.
Yeah.
Because we see them earlier, they go get that like mist, and then they get dressed, and then whatever. So we're seeing them right after that, and Cassian's like, "Okay, this is our talking about it. How this is it. This is how we go." And then he's saying they're scared because he said power doesn't show fear. They're afraid. They roasted a whole floor because they're afraid of us.
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation. Basically, Cassian trying to convince Kino, like, look, we gotta go. You know it. Everyone else knows it. But I need you to buy in, because if you don't buy in, I can't get everybody else to do it, as we see later on as we get further into the prison break. So it was just so many lines in this brief conversation that were just dropping like haymakers for me. You know, power doesn't panic. Stands out the most to me, and I was just like, I was beside myself watching it on the couch, and I was just like, this show is literally insane of what they're delivering in dialogue from week to week, Brandon.
Yeah. Well, I missed the last couple of weeks.
Well, yeah, that's right. So you got to catch up a little bit.
But I did get caught up. I've seen it all now. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do they not have Star Wars in Europe?
No, they don't. It's something called...
They better by April, I tell you that much.
Yeah.
It's Les Star Battle.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly just a bunch of people just eating baguettes on park benches and going pew pew.
I'm sorry.
They invented pew pew.
That's where.
Pew
Well, yeah,
comes
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah.
Pepe Le Pew Pew.
Exactly.
Pepe Le Pew. Oh, I get it now.
Pew.
Wow, I get it now. The Pepe Le Pew.
Because he smells. Because he's a skunk.
Which is, there's a lot to get.
I thought it had to do with
whole
blaster
other,
bolts.
Yeah. Oh.
Pew.
Pew. Pew pew.
I did go to a cathedral. They had pews.
A church? Yeah.
But never more than 3 on this podcast.
Yeah, that's apparently 3 weeks running in a row now. Right? It's 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
3?
3
weeks.
Who even knows?
Well,
I mean,
there
4
was
out of 5.
We did well, yeah, out of because we had one episode where I was gone,
Yeah.
and then one episode where we had everyone,
yeah.
and then a bunch without Brandon.
And then we did 2 episodes. Our Tales. If you haven't watched our Tales review without Brandon, Kevin's right here in the video actually. So if you go watch our Tales review and discussion on that was Sean breaks it down.
Red Tails.
Red Tails
Tales from
it's all. This is a George Lucas
Sonic the
podcast
Hedgehog.
through. Yeah,
George Lucas movie Red Tails.
Colleen O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah. So dialogue, the writing, you're catching
Yes.
up. Let's get back on track.
I'm always trying to hold my hand. I mean,
You'd be lucky, but anyways, continue.
anyways, I did get caught up. I was a little behind. And so I get spoiled on Twitter very easily with
Yeah.
this show. And I'm seeing a lot of people getting all hyped up about this never more than 12.
Never more than
line.
12.
And I'm like, what is the big deal with this line? And I watched it and I get it.
I get it.
Get it? Do
You,
you want
you
to
watched
it.
12 Angry Men.
do you want to
Yeah.
explain it?
Yeah, you see, there's never more than 12 guards on each floor. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well,
Like,
I'll say it looked like there was like 4 or 5 guards on each floor
but
this episode.
Yeah, well, they referenced that. He says Cassian
They're
even says to
understaffed.
Kino, like,
Yeah.
right now they're gonna have this is the time when they're gonna have the least amount of guards, and so that's why we absolutely have to go at this time in conjunction
Yeah.
with bringing
But-
in the new prisoner.
it was great because they set it up so perfectly where he like keeps asking him like how many
Yeah.
guards, like, and he's like, shut up, don't talk to me, like they're
Yeah.
listening. Well, he doesn't
Shut
say
up,
that,
Melshi.
but
Yeah.
it's obviously Cassian says nobody's listening. He likes to yell like that a lot.
But did you notice how many times in that episode he told Melshi to shut up?
no.
No? God.
Respect for Melshi out the
Respect, gotta
window.
respect Melshi.
Yeah,
But no, it was awesome because there's like so much weight to it when finally like he's on board. Kino is like 100% on board.
yeah.
After finding out what happened on level 2. And so he gets asked, like, Cassian's like, all right, like, when I ask you one more time, like, how many guards? He's like, never more than 12. And yeah, all right, like, he is on
He's
board
going.
now.
Yeah.
I can't believe it took them a week to get a stretcher.
What?
He was called the doctor was calling for a stretcher last
Yeah.
week,
And
then this week he finally got the stretcher.
no,
I don't think that's in real
are you-
time. I mean,
Sean. We recorded this a little later in the day when we've all had work, especially you.
Yeah.
and your
I'm
drives.
still jet lagged from Hosni and Prime.
Yeah,
You could have gone with Niamos, and you went with Hosni and Prime.
Dang.
Yeah, Hosni and Prime. I thought it was just funny because like the place has gone downhill because like it blew up, and I just thought like that was like a good like bit.
Right. That's right. The bit.
Speaking of bits, no Bix in this episode.
No,
It's pronounced bit.
but I don't want to see her in a state that's
You don't want to
depressing.
see. You don't want to see her like that.
No, I don't want to see her like that. That's just
But you did want to see the prisoners like this.
in Narkina 5. Yes.
Finally, they found some resolve.
Yes, and look, when they get back to their bunks, Cassian, is still badgering Kino, like, right? Come on, like, let's go. And then
Tell
Kino
them.
finally breaks down. It sinks into him, and
Overnight.
Well, not overnight. It's like right.
Well,
before.
sure, but right before bed, he
Yeah,
says something like basically saying it's hopeless, and then in the morning is like when he's like fully galvanized to.
Well,
you
no.
know.
But before they go to bed, that's when he shouts, "No one's getting
Right.
out." And then they wake up, and then it's like, like at that point, Kino's fully on board, bought in, and when they wake up, he's like, "We got to do this," and the whole time, I was just imagining, you have this plan to break out of prison, and it's predicated on bringing in the new prisoner,
Right.
But you can't do your plan until that prisoner comes in. So you got to wait, I don't know how long.
Right.
You still have to go to work. You still have to you can't give anything away you can't slack off, right? You
No.
still have to pump out what you've been doing for the past X amount of days, months, years, even though you're waiting for
You're
this
waiting
prisoner
for someone to die.
well, no. You're waiting for them to bring in the new prisoner.
Right, which means someone either has to die or
Yes,
get.
Olaf already died.
Right, but what you're saying is you have to keep working until that day.
Oh no! What I'm referencing is we're doing it today,
Right,
and
okay.
you're like, I still have. I'm waiting for them to bring the new prisoner.
Oh, you're saying
I still
that
have to
day.
keep working to
Okay.
keep up this. I still have to keep working so it doesn't look suspicious.
I love the nervous energy during that of them all looking up to the window. Like if I were one of those guards and everyone's looking up to that window at me that day,
Yeah.
I'd be like,
But they're so fat and satisfied they don't notice.
But yeah, to be fair, Cassian is always looking up there. So it's like
right, but everyone
Kino,
this episode,
but again, that's they don't take into account that those prisoners have
agency.
any agency, any type of power, any thought of breaking out.
Right.
So, I don't think it would tip off, but I think like a decrease in productivity or something like that, it would just be like, yo, what's going on here? Then you get zapped probably too. So
they probably shouldn't have put a toilet on the floor that's sensitive to water.
But it did take them a lot. I mean, it seems like they'd been working at it for a while.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
They got nothing but time.
Right. Fair.
That panel came off really.
You know what would have
easily.
made
He
their
was like,
You know what would have made their
Yeah.
escape much easier?
What's that?
If they had wings.
They had, yeah. Is this a Lord of the Rings thing?
No, this is our sponsor, Red Bull.
Oh yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Red Bull. It gives you wings.
or if you like yerba mate, it
at that.
gives you the same energetic feeling of drinking a
Nope.
latte.
So we get to this part where the new prisoners coming in, and I don't know, the music starts ramping up. Everyone's getting amped up. One of the other prisoners is like, I don't care. I just want to go. Like we got to.
And I like the one that's like, I'm imagining myself already dead. I'm already dead. I'm already dead.
And then Cassian
freaking
says,
out.
"Don't die until you
Right.
give a fight." And then Cassian is just filled with great, I think, motivational lines.
Finally, we're starting to see the Cassian in Rogue One,
Yeah.
right? Because the Cassian we've had for most of the series has just been very, I don't want to say pessimistic, but just very like, it is what it is. What is that? Nihilistic.
Status quo. Just,
He's been very nihilistic.
Dark nihilist.
That's a guy.
that is a guy.
That's a guy.
That's a guy in the Star Wars.
If you've seen my movies,
you've seen
Kevin?
Kevin's movie. Yeah, we got it in. We still fit in with it.
we fit it in.
Yeah.
So he's just been very nihilistic as far as like, we're stuck with the lot that we have. We need to make the best of it. And this is the first time we've kind of seen him being like, let's go. Let's go. We can do this. There is hope. There is faith,
I mean, I feel like he's been in a lot of situations where he's been outnumbered, and he finally sees, the Empire really just being so overconfident in their capabilities and their power that they're just.
I mean,
they haven't properly staffed. What
But-
in your right mind would you have a ratio of like 12 guards to 700 people?
this is the same.
magic
This is the
floor.
same.
magic floor, right?
This is the same government and war machine that fields the TIE fighter, and super battle stations with an exhaust port that'll blow it up. So
Those TIE fighters can really move.
you're right. They absolutely can, but
and
they're
they
not.
didn't know about the exhaust port on the Death Star.
It's
That was Galen's.
It's only 2
but
meters
they didn't,
wide.
But they didn't know.
Oh, but at the point when they found out,
Right,
this could be a weakness.
But
Tarkin's
they didn't
like,
know about the failure of that this would fail either.
Sure.
Right? From an outside perspective, a lot had to go right for this to work.
Yeah,
Even just any one of those guards being a little more on their shit.
true.
Like that one guy sitting at the desk that Cassian shoots when they get up the
Yeah.
ramp. If he was just ready, it's a 300 Battle of Thermopylae thing, right? One guy against a bunch of unarmed people coming through a door. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
What I did find, I don't know about you guys, but I had no idea what this water was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? It didn't even dawn on me until like right before the guard says,
That they were trying to
light it up,
short
like
circuit
fry
everything?
and I was like, oh, it's gonna short circuit, and then they light and like short circuits. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. One guy bites it because he was still standing in the
Yeah.
water, which sucked. But I was like, oh, this is an excellent plan.
Yeah.
Like the Empire was just, they are dumb.
Well, again, I don't necessarily think they're dumb.
Oh, yeah,
I
dumb's
just
not the right word.
I think it's just a matter of like they weren't ready for the unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot, like I said, a lot had to go right for this plan to have worked. Almost like it had to be something in a TV show for it to work. No, I'm not saying it's
Sure,
not.
sure,
I'm not
sure.
saying it's not believable, but it's definitely it's definitely the plot of a TV show more so than we can
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. But then it's full on. Like they're throwing everything. I mean, like all their tools are weapons. Like everything they've been working. with,
you could
putting together.
You could huck a piece of metal pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, so it was really, really awesome. I was as it was all building up. I mean, just like the wave of emotions inside it's all because of the previous 2 episodes in the arc that have been building this, and now we're finally here and we're going through. I was very, jittery through this whole.
I was anxious.
Sequence.
I was like, my heart was beating really
Well,
fast.
and this episode moves pretty quick too. Like
it does.
It's really well paced. It's really well paced, and because it's such a cathartic moment of
very cathartic,
of everything finally coming together. I think that it happened. It's a literal snowball effect, right? You see them, breach the command center. You see them start moving floor to floor, and then we get to the command center. There's the 2 guys there, and they're just, trying to figure shit out.
Yeah, they're like, go down there, figure it out, blah blah blah. And then they're getting, and then
you find out that like deep voice, just like the dweebiest guy in the
Oh my
Empire.
gosh.
Yeah, well, because there's a voice modulator on the console.
But it was just like,
Well,
it is a guy. I always thought it was just like
I
AI
think it is.
generated.
I think it is a recording normally. I think if they have to do a different,
this was a special circumstance of
Right.
like, we weren't prepared for this. I don't know, maybe. Maybe he just normally presses
because they have a button. I'm sure they have a button that says
yeah.
on program, right?
Right.
Like because it's the same tone, the same intonation every time.
What I was gonna say about so watching something like these inmates that we've been following for the past couple of episodes, to see them die, it was just like it actually really was effective when you saw a couple of them die, and then the only like solace in watching the prison break was whenever Melshi was on screen doing something. I was like, oh, I know he's gonna be all right.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine.
He's gonna be
good.
good.
I mean, it's there's this for me. It was kind of, and this sounds a little heartless and fickle, right? But like, I don't know. I only needed our 3 core characters to get out there, right?
Sure.
Keenan, Cassian, and Melshi.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew as long as they were going to get out safe, we were fine.
We were what?
We're fine as long as those 3 get out safe.
Yeah. What are you looking at me for?
They got out safe, right? Those 3.
Well, so
2.
before we get to that part,
Okay, great.
let's talk about
his speech.
Yeah, that's what exactly I wanted to talk about.
First thing I want to go before you go in on the speech.
Okay.
I love that it's the same
microphone.
mic
Yes,
console
from
from Han Solo on the Death
I
Star.
immediately recognized. I was
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
We're all on program. We're on program.
How are you? How are you?
How are you? On program.
But that whole like those 3-4 attendants in there or Imperials in there was kind of a little bit like a Hunger Games situation, like the Game Makers.
Yeah, a little bit.
You
A
know?
little bit. I mean, I think it's a very Star Wars thing.
Oh,
right?
for
like,
sure, for sure. But it's just like they control the entire environment from that room, the entire jail from that room, and they even kind of BSing Cassian and Kino to an extent. He's like, oh, well, if I shut it off, it takes like a month to go. I'm like, you think we're interested in the downtime at this point? Like, no.
He was like, it's so annoying.
Man, I've got a blaster pointed in your face. Do you think I really give a fuck?
When Kino wastes that one dude, he's like, come on, let's go.
It'd be funny if he was like, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it would be such an inconvenience.
I'm like, wait, now's the time. What are you stalling for? Like,
I wish the Imperials were sarcastic about it. Like, oh, you want me to shut down the facility? Okay.
Yeah.
Get a load of this guy. Wants
us
to help their escape plan.
And but what was really, I thought, very emotional when Kino finally gets on the mic. Cassian's like, it's got to be you. Because everyone knows you.
It's a moment, but it's also a moment again where we're seeing a little bit in episode in the was it last episode or episode 8? In the last episode, we see Cassian kind of being this like supportive, trying to support Olaf when he, is struggling.
Yeah.
And instead of taking the credit from Kino of like making a point of they switched out to help Olaf, he gives the other guy credit.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing where we're seeing Cassian going, look, this is your moment. We couldn't do this without you. this is your moment to do this.
But I think that's also Cassian recognizing who has influence and power, and he's also able to. But he has to help motivate.
But he doesn't really have influence and power over the other floors.
No, but I think it's.
But he has the ability to connect with these people.
People would we don't know exactly how long Kino's been there, but one would imagine that he's been there quite a long time, and it might take a week or two for stuff to get from one level to the next. Someone's going to know about. Well, but also he's a floor manager as well, so I think
but Cassian could have easily said, I'm floor manager of.
But I think it was powerful for at least the men on the floor that he's from.
Well, that was the cool thing was during his speech, the first one we see to move and touch the floor is the floor manager for their night shift.
Yes.
So
when they say that all the floors are cold and he steps on. I mean, can you imagine? You have, even if you're just in there for a week, you are so programmed not to step on that floor for no reason. Just don't step on it, and then to be told. No, you can step on it, and just be and then trust that voice coming from the microphone,
right,
or the speaker to be I can step on here. I mean, it's a pretty big moment, which I imagine it was happening all throughout the prison. But I bet
there's one floor that didn't.
I mean, maybe
that's nah, it's too much of a risk.
I mean, I'm sure there's always people you know what, they're gonna get caught. I'm gonna sit here. I'm not gonna do anything because they'll get on control, but. Maybe eventually, they got up and ran or whatever. But the speech, though, and I think the turning point, well, I mean, Kino's kind of starts off kind of generic. We've turned off all the floors, blah, blah, blah. And Cassian's that's the best you got.
Yeah.
And Kino ends up using the words that Cassian said to him in the beginning of the episode. And was that's what was the spark for Kino, for everything inside of him to come out. And go on with the speech of helping everybody and climb. And if you see someone falling behind, pick them up. I mean, after he started using Cassian's words, everything else just started flowing out of him, which I found really, really powerful, especially on the second and third watch, where I wasn't super emotional listening to that speech. I was very rah-rah in the moment, but watching it back, I started choking up on the second and third rewatch of this episode, and it's just a very moving and powerful sequence to see Kino basically transform from the floor manager to an upriser, a rebel essentially in this prison. And I just thought it was an incredible delivery from Andy Serkis, and he just was phenomenal throughout this entire arc, and it's all culminating in this big speech. Fantastic.
What's the line? This is the rebellion. I rebel.
You're all rebels. Yeah.
I and it's funny because you talking about the second and third watch. You had mentioned this, but as we were setting up to film, and I was kind of I don't know. I didn't think the speech was that great. And because on my first watch, I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention to what was being said necessarily. Just that oh yeah, rah speech, whatever. It's another, and then in the second watch, I was kind of focused on other things.
Okay.
As far as I was looking more forward to the Mon Mothma scene and the Luthen scene to kind of break those down. But we had it on as we were setting up, and on my third watch while we had it on, I'm okay, all right, I see where we're going. And it's definitely, I mean, I think the more effective portion of that speech is the aftermath of the one way out, one way out, one way out.
Sure.
Which I love that shot of all of the prisoners running across the bridge, screaming one way out. We see those people getting trampled because everyone just wants out so bad.
Falling over each other.
I thought that was a little odd, because after his speech.
Yeah, help each other. If you see someone confused.
You see someone confused, help them out or whatever. And
then we see people getting trampled.
So I saw people fall, and I'm all right, someone's going to help them up. And nobody helped
didn't really
them
do
up.
that.
They got trampled.
But I mean, Brandon, when Kino is saying Cassian's words, and he's looking directly at Cassian, and he's pretty much you help do this as much as I'm delivering these words. These are your words. I don't know. How did you feel with this speech and the whole sequence thereafter?
I mean, I loved it. I was thinking, wow, Andy Serkis is such a good actor.
Dude,
Yeah.
so good.
Like, why do we always hide this man behind CGI? He's
You know
so
what?
good.
I don't want to cut you off
But you did.
but I'm going to. The moment that I thought exactly that was him looking up, like while they're working. The like anxious look on his face is so like
Yeah.
easy to read as an audience member. A lot of times you can't tell like, oh, what emotion is that character thinking? But like Andy Serkis, it's just this pinpoint of like, oh, he's got this anxious energy, ready to move. And then when he's yelling, all right, everyone on program, we got a new man come on the floor.
I mean,
All of
he's
that.
just falling back into old habits at that point. I
Right.
feel like of just reciting what you say and
but
protocol and all that.
But the way he delivers,
Yeah.
my point is the way he delivers those lines, it shows such a great like anxiety build, anxious build.
And he like says it like very similarly to the way he always says it, but the look on his face is telling a completely different story.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's like the Imperials aren't looking at his face. They're just like, all right, like business as usual. Why would I ever look a prisoner in the eye?
Right. Why would I look at a prisoner?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I loved it. And honestly, I was like, yeah, great acting. I'm like, damn, now I'm thinking he should win like an Emmy like or something. Or at least be nominated.
He's got to be.
Like-
He has to be. It's
Him or Skarsgård?
both. I'm
Yeah.
like both are just
Everyone, the whole show.
the whole. I mean, everyone is just at the top of their game.
Maybe not Tim.
Tim was the best acting of them all.
If there's a cooking award, like a brewing award,
There is.
In real life, the actor can't make a cup of coffee to save his life.
Yeah, he was.
that's incredible acting. Then
Yeah,
that's
incredible acting.
incredible. He just
And he's not dead, if you believe it.
he's dead. He's Snoke, actually, right?
No, I mean the actor is not dead.
Oh no,
I know it's hard to believe because he died in the show, and
Because
it
it
was
was
so convincing.
such
I
good
see what you're
acting.
saying.
He was
there.
such a good
I
actor.
didn't see.
Yeah.
I'm just
That one went over your
yeah.
head.
That one. Whoop.
He's
Yeah.
also Snoke.
He's also yes.
Yeah.
Tim, you would make a great Snoke. Come here, boy. I'm going to clone you. Make me a cup of calf.
That's why he cloned him, just so he could keep making him. a cup of cap. Yeah.
I have my weird space monkey that works on weapons and fixes Kylo's helmet. I have Snoke to pretend to be in charge. And when I need a good cup of calf, I go to Tim.
Dang,
That was pretty good.
that was wow. That was really.
Yeah.
That was, you should get an Emmy.
What's with
nomination.
what's
a
with
good
Albrecht,
soundbite.
guys?
the what?
Albrecht?
Oh,
the
God bless you.
the space monkey that fixes Kylo Ren's mask?
what's okay? Huh? Oh,
Do you not remember that?
no, I do. I'm
There's
just.
there's a
I was like,
chimpanzee. The Emperor has a
yeah.
chimpanzee
I
on
remember.
Exegol.
I remember the sequence. I was like, oh, we're doing that. And okay, what's this not a
Yeah, what's
like, we could. Oh man, this is
What's the deal?
that's a dangerous tangent. That's,
Back to the
yeah.
great speech. I loved it. I was saying before the whole prison break, I was like, my heart was racing. I felt like I was breaking out of prison.
yeah.
Like I was nervous. Like I didn't want to get shot. I'm like, I was like that guy. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm like, bro, I was just on my couch. Okay.
I'm just wait.
Just on my couch. I'm not gonna
Well,
get shot. And so like,
Even during the breakout, like he says something like, "What do you think?" Like something about the guards, and then someone else on the bench is like, "I thought you were dead." Like what's good?
yeah, that was a good.
Oh yeah.
It's giving him a hard time.
Exactly.
Like, what happened? I thought you were
Yeah,
dead.
'cause, I mean that was interesting that even okay, we'll get to the so they finally get up to the place where you just apparently just got to jump off
the landing pad.
Yeah, I guess.
It's where they. It was the landing
Yeah,
pad.
yeah.
that they-
Where you when you enter in, so they get there, and everyone's jumping off now into the water. Which look, you got to suspend all Earth physics because those people on
Would die-
Earth would just
I don't know.
they would not survive.
How many meters was it?
a lot.
It looked pretty tall. They're on the 8th floor at
Gotta watch it
least,
again.
right? 8th level.
Yeah, and we know that the levels are at least 2 stories,
So, okay, but I mean, and so you're dropping down.
Yeah.
I mean,
16 stories.
it looks.
I'll have to do the math and get back.
Yeah, you do figure out the math.
Guys, go follow.
What's the gravity on that planet?
What's your Brandon on
Brandon on science?
Brandon on Science? Go follow Brandon on Science. There will be a special report on the velocity of
I could do it.
prisoners hitting
I could do
the
this.
surface
Cool.
tension of
I
water.
can
Yeah.
do this. I can do this.
Hey, there you go.
That's a Star Wars reference.
That's Star Wars.
Star Wars reference.
That's Star Wars.
So they're jumping off.
Yeah.
And Kino,
Oh man, this is one of the most
everyone's
heartbreaking.
Everyone's jumping. Cassian, great line by Cassian. He says, "Whatever happens now, we made it out."
Yeah.
To Melshi, right? And I thought that was such a great little bonding moment between him and Melshi. Because it looks like they're the only two from their floor that are like sticking together.
Stick together, yes.
Once they're getting out, right?
Yeah. They decided to stick together, it looks like. For how long, we don't know, but at least...
But it's great. It's great foreshadowing for the future because we know
100%.
the two of them are pretty loyal to each other by the time of Rogue One. But so, like, Cassian looks to Kino like, are you ready to go? And Kino says, I can't swim, Mr. Frodo.
I mean, when he said that, I just was like, oh, did not see that coming. I was like, oh, they're gonna make it. I was like... And then he says, I can't swim. And then...
What better time to learn?
Right. Like, well, especially with like part of his speech is, if you see someone confused or someone who doesn't know what to do, help them, right? Like, if he would have just jumped, I'm sure Cassian and Melshi could have found a way to help him.
Yes, they would have, absolutely. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, Cassian would be like, I got you, come with me.
And I think Cassian would have helped him if he didn't get pushed over.
If he didn't get shoved over.
And Cassian, sure.
He didn't jump over willingly.
Because I'm sure they could have found something on the prison that would have acted as a flotation device.
I do have a theory about Kino.
So do I.
So it's just my own fun,
He's
maybe
Snoke.
headcanon type of theory,
Snoke couldn't swim either, guys.
Yeah.
I you see his arms? They're not made for swimming.
Kevin texted me a theory before the show.
Okay.
But you do yours first.
Okay, so this is just my own headcanon.
Apparent to Lord Vader.
It's not, I guess,
guy who will teach me how to swim one day. Kylo.
It's like, so I want Kino to live. I think everybody does, right? Survive. So my own headcanon / theory is that after Cassian, and everybody else is like jumping off, my idea is that Kino would go back through the entire prison again, making sure everyone would get off and can get off and whatnot. But before he does that, he dons an Imperial guard uniform. Like he swaps, he takes off his prison garb, puts on an Imperial uniform thing, so he can go around the prison, making sure everyone gets out. And then when other Imperial reinforcements arrive,
they think he's
a guard and he hijacks a ship or whatever and gets off. That's my own personal headcanon. I hope that is somewhat true, or that he just gets off. And if I nailed it, that would be even sweeter. But I just hope that's my only way to be like, how could he get off? How could he get out of there?
Well, I'm glad you're thinking about how he can get off.
I know it's a poor choice of words. John's to my left.
It's funny because Kevin also told me how he thinks he gets off.
Okay.
He thinks that Palpatine heard the speech. So he thinks Palpatine's gonna hear that speech from Kino. Okay. Gonna go, you know what? This is the guy. This is the guy that if my empire fails, he's going to act as my proxy for a new empire called the First Order.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to clone him, and we're going to make him a weird, tall, skeletal alien boy.
And then we're going to give him a wig.
Wait, what did he really send you?
And he's going to become friends.
He did not.
With
Show
Ben
me the text.
Solo.
Show me the text. That's absolute BS. He did not waste his time.
I'll just see this. You never see our swimming buddy drown or make a dive.
I will agree.
Palps must have heard the intercom speech, and he's about to get a one-way trip to Exegol.
Look, I will agree. This does not do anything.
So I extended out Kevin's theory a little bit to give it a little credit.
Yeah.
It is even funnier when you add the fact that like Snoke wears a wig when talking to young Ben Solo when he corrupts him.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Have you ever seen that picture from the comics?
No.
He's like got like a hairpiece on.
Wow.
For
Okay.
sure.
What I will say is them not showing what happens to
hide
Kino.
that he's not evil, but he clearly is. 'Cause his face is all messed up.
Evil? Not evil. Evil. Not evil? Evil. Audio listeners, I'm pretending to take on and off.
Oh yeah, we have audio listeners now. Hello.
You know what? Fuck you guys, audio listeners.
No. What I will say is, with them not definitively telling us what happens to Kino, I was like, oh, this does nothing to squash the Snoke rumors at all. Like, ugh. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You're not kidding.
Oh, you looked it up?
Why?
Wow.
You looked it up. Should we show this on the screen?
No.
Right
yeah. Well,
now,
screenshot that and send it to me. So I don't.
Over here. Oh.
Nice grab. I'll find it later.
I'm going to make him the leader of the First Order.
He's got a little hat too.
He's got a what the? I've never seen these. I should probably read these.
No,
actually.
you know what? Hold on. I don't think it's hair. I think
No?
it's like a Yoop to shoe head wrap.
Oh, okay, a head wrap.
Like
thing.
one of the emperor.
But
Like
the other one, the first one you showed me, looked like hair. actually.
sure,
Looks like hair.
but if you look at the other shots, it's kind of not.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Well,
Definitely a guy that I would trust.
he was like, Ben was like, nice hat.
Yeah, you know what? This guy is better than Luke Skywalker.
I'm just so.
So, anyways, they just give like the one of the
You know
final
what, I quit.
shots. Okay.
All right.
You don't like the
I can't deal with Snoke's hair.
For
guys? It really got to him.
he can't deal with Snoke's hair. I don't know how
the
far
hair
away he
stuff,
is from the
just-
microphone.
You never know what's gonna send someone over the edge.
Yeah, sometimes
That's it. That's my line.
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Snoke.
people running into you when you're trying to escape a prison.
Snoke with hair is my line.
Snook with hair is my line. But they show that top-down view of the prison. Everyone swimming
I love
out,
that.
and I was just
I
like,
love that.
Such a great,
Let's make a
great
water
shot.
prison. Wouldn't it be cool if it looked like the Empire logo?
Well, it's the CIS logo.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
It's a little bit of both.
A little bit. Yeah, it looked very
I don't know.
similar.
That's even weirder.
I don't know. I love that shot of all of the prisoners swimming out.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
the three sides.
Yeah.
They all are.
Which also doesn't make sense because if they're swimming out of the three sides, one side faces the shore. Where are the other ones going?
I mean, look, to be fair, like no one really knows which way to swim. How would you know? You just
well,
just
you
gonna have
get
to
out
swim.
on that landing pad, go, oh, that's just open ocean.
I mean,
Yeah, but it's probably like a really long walk to the other side.
so I mean, you're just trying to get out any way you can, you know. So
Once you see the sky,
You're right.
are you
You
going to
know
go
what? You're
back
right.
into the building?
The quickest way to get off the ocean is through the planet core.
The planet core.
but in the end,
Cooperfish.
we do see Melshi and Andor on the planet. It's like nighttime. At
What
this
a
point.
cool! It's such a cool planet design too.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
really-
so like 1950s like Mars,
Yeah.
Oh,
like
sure.
like Flash Gordon.
It looked like snow, but then it was like, oh,
It
it's
was
sand.
sand.
And I was
Yeah.
like, Their feet must be cold.
Well, they're probably rubbed raw because we know sand in Star Wars is coarse and rough
And
it gets
irritating.
everywhere.
and
I
irritating.
think it's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that kind of covers it for the prison break. Unless you have any more thoughts, Sean, Brandon.
No, I really don't. I think we spent longer on the prison break than I expected.
Because
Because
I loved it.
Because I think we have a lot to talk about with Ferrex. I just want to dive right in.
want to dive right
Yeah.
in.
I want to dive right
dive
in.
right
Ferrex.
in. Dive right in.
So
From
we
the 8th
get-
level in.
So most of this episode takes place on Ferrex. We get one scene on Ferrex.
Yeah, one scene.
Which
Time
again,
is
okay, I
relative,
just think this
so.
scene's out of place, right? Like I understand they're trying to keep the through line moving, but you can easily staple this scene onto the next episode and it's going to make the same amount of sense, I'm sure. Or onto last episode.
Possibly.
Possibly. But so we
Possibly.
get a scene finding out Marva is not taking her medicine, and we see the women's circle that they talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that woman who's talking to the doctor is a member
From
of the
that,
women's
yeah.
circle. We don't actually see. Is it Marva or Mavra? I always
It's
Marva.
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 And we see one shot of Cinta just kind of watching,
Yeah.
and someone else reporting to another guy who I think is an ISB agent,
Yeah, ISB.
incognito.
Yeah, that but Dedra had set up, right? Because she had talked about that the last
Yeah.
episode. Keep an eye on her. Yeah, and I think all that is just to set up the fact that, at least my estimation, that when Andor makes his way back to Ferrex, we already know that Cinta's there, the ISB is looking, just to remind us of
Sure.
what the situation
Remind us
is
the
around
state of
her.
the galaxy.
Yeah. Well, just remind us the state of Marva.
Well, I mean
and
the
what,
the state of the galaxy. I mean, like in a metaphorical.
Yeah,
you know,
gotcha.
Now,
Yeah, so
the state of the galaxy as it pertains to this show.
sure.
I watched like the last two episodes back to back, so I'm a little mixed up on what happens in what episode.
Sure.
When-
so
when-
Bix gets tortured in the last episode.
I did see that.
Ugh, brutal.
When Mon is like trying to give that address to the Senate and
Yeah,
people are like
that was last
ignoring her, that
episode.
was last episode.
It was last episode, yeah.
Okay, I was because this had me thinking about just like how like tight the Empire's grip is on everything, kind of like how Luthen wants,
Yeah.
right? Because that breeds rebellion.
Correct.
But it's just like it makes me wonder like what is the Empire thinking? Because like they're just like tightening that grip and they could see the effects of it. It's like, wow, all these people are like rebelling against us, and nobody's happy at all.
Well, there's one thing to remember about Star Wars. It's a big damn galaxy. And what we're seeing is the point of view of the movers and shakers, right? Mm-hmm. So everything we see in Star Wars, and especially this show, is of people that are turning points of the galaxy, right? We're not seeing the average policymaker. We're seeing fucking Wolf Yularen making policy, right? And we're seeing Dedra Meero, who's clearly a, antagonist, right? Not just a member of the Empire. An average member of the Empire is not an antagonist. She's an antagonist, right? Cassian and Luthen and Mavra are all protagonists, right? They are proactively making change upon the plot from a storytelling perspective. This is one thing that it always kind of gets bogged down in Star Wars, where people are like, well, why are the stormtroopers feared if they don't, because it's a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's a movie.
I would be afraid
Because it's
of a
make-believe.
stormtrooper.
I would too.
They're scary.
They're in full armor with guns.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're always mean.
And they're always mean.
Snarky.
Some of them punch a baby frog lizard thing.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
You know?
And then they arrested Cassian for just standing around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 6 years of
Well,
slave labor.
To be fair, that wasn't a stormtrooper. That was a shore trooper.
Oh, excuse me, a
They're
stormtrooper
different.
with a view.
That's great.
All right, where do we want to go next? We want to go to Mon?
Let's go to Mon.
I know.
I'd go to Hosnian Prime if I had one.
Do you want to talk about Ferrix anymore?
I mean, there's really. I think all it was just to set up, hey, remember when? I think it's just setting
so
up for
you
when
don't think
Andor-
this was an important part of the episode?
No, I do. I do think it was.
Okay.
Hey,
I think it was.
There was a reference to Tim last episode.
There
was, and hopefully it's the last.
It won't be.
But no, I just think them showing Ferrix was hey, look, Marva's condition has even progressed further from when we last saw our last episode. So when we see Andor next episode, which I assume, or even the 10th or the 11th or 12th episode when he goes back there, I'm assuming we know maybe she's even in a worse state or what, so it's just kind of setting up what we could, or what Andor could be in store for when he goes back there. And so
There's so much comedy that they're trying so hard to find Cassian while he's breaking out of an
oh my
Imperial.
God, there really
Right.
is. There really is.
The irony of that is just the best.
We gotta find this guy and put him in prison. He's so dangerous, and he's breaking out.
He's currently breaking out of
I mean,
prison.
they had him
Yeah.
for at least a month, right? So I don't know how much.
Well, they don't
further
even
after-
necessarily need to want to find him because they think he's dangerous. That's a Cyril thing.
That's
They
Right.
want to get to Luthen.
They want to find him so they can get to Luthen. Which before we get to Luthen, Mon,
yeah.
we see her meeting with Davo and
Tay.
Tay, thank you.
Take home.
Just not.
They're weird names.
Yeah, they're weird names.
They're cool names. but weird.
And Davo is just this suave, debonair, scum.
Can I say real quick? I got this guy reminded me, or maybe it's the other way around, but Chris Pine. What if Chris Pine was in this role?
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
then it got me thinking, man, I would love to see Chris Pine in Star Wars.
Yeah, me too.
That would be awesome. Anyways.
I mean, we've already seen him in Star Trek. So.
Right.
Yeah, now in the Wars.
Well,
Put him in
he
the Wars.
reminded me of.
Trekking.
He reminded me of. Did either of you guys read a lot of Legends? I know you didn't.
Just the Thrawn.
I don't
so
know how to read.
he reminds me
basic.
of George Cardass, who was one of the characters in.
It's pronounced George Lucas.
George Lucas is the art of George Cardass looks like George Lucas, legitimately. But he's like this crime
you
lord
go.
guy,
Okay.
like a big time smuggler. He reminded me a little bit of that guy, just this suave, debonair. He's not necessarily evil. He just
He operates in the gray.
Just an
he does
a-hole.
crimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this guy, he does crimes.
But it's
He's
only
like-
because the Empire is forcing his hand.
no.
Okay,
No.
never mind.
No, but I do love the
a little
interaction
bit of
between
crime.
him and Mon, where he's like, I want to small talk, I want to schmooze, I want to clink glasses and do all this, and Mon's like, let's get to the point.
Yeah.
And he's even like, well, I know your husband,
That's
which
what I was
didn't shock me.
Eyebrow
at all.
raise. I was like, uh-oh.
Really, because
Interesting.
for me, it
no,
was,
no. I mean, where is he going with this in terms
Oh,
of
right.
interest? What is Perrin involved in with this guy?
Well, I'm wondering if him and Perrin had a conversation about exactly what. So I
They
mean,
probably go to one of those rich people islands where they hunt people for sport. Like that's like something they do like
The
once
most
a year.
dangerous game.
Yeah, like a weekend getaway
Yeah.
to Andor.
Well,
my God.
because Perrin in like the first episode we see Perrin, he's talking about his old army days, and his old army or his buddies from the regiment, So yeah, maybe like this could be one of his buddies from the regiment. But ultimately, he wants to trade this money laundering scheme for a betrothal of his son.
No, it's not a betrothal. It's an introduction.
Right, I mean, but what he wants is a betrothal,
what do you want?
right?
Yeah.
Which
I mean, they're both hot.
he says they're both attractive,
With attractive
privileged,
Chandrillans.
They're like 13 and 14.
Yeah.
They're 13 and
14.
Yeah.
they're 14 and 15, I think.
I think it was
Maybe
13
it's 13 and 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's weirder. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
but we know Mon got
it's
married.
Game of Thrones.
So
It was very Game of Thrones.
But
Their
this scene
culture.
does something interesting, is to illustrate something about Mon's marriage, because we find out that Mon was married at 15. So, and that it was by Chandrillan custom or Chandrillan tradition,
Right.
which we now know is arranged marriages at 15.
More or less, yes. Because like it seems like, well, I guess when you're off Chandrilla, maybe it's less strict because he's just talking about an introduction. Doesn't mean he's like, yeah, I just want them to meet.
Well, but I think I think the point of that was that is Chandrillan custom, is these betrothals, these arranged.
And he makes a reference. He says, it's interesting that our position sometimes dictates what we do, and like that has reverberations for a lot of things.
Sure. But so as they're talking about it, Mon's face reveals a lot. Like as far as like she's like, absolutely not. I'm not considering it. And you see like she does this thing where she's like, you can tell she's swallowing hard and like,
Shuddering according to the subtitles.
Almost like having flashbacks to her betrothal, and the fact that she was probably locked into this by her father or by her mother, and didn't want to marry Perrin, right?
Or at the very least, just doesn't want this for her daughter. Even as estranged as...
sure, but I think that I think the purpose of the scene based on Mon's reactions, right?
Yeah.
Because essentially it's a removal of liberty and a removal of choice.
But I think
either for her or for Lita.
I think there's definitely that, but I think also what this scene ultimately is displaying for us is Mon's thought of how far am I willing to go? How much am I willing to sacrifice? Because this whole episode is really, in my estimation, like what I took away from it was sacrifice on the whole, right? And this is part of what am I willing to sacrifice my family for this rebellion, for this cause? Like
the director for this arc,
Toby Haynes,
even said that was the theme of the arc.
Of the arc. Oh, I had not read that. But well, then I fully got it.
Yeah, there you go. Then you totally bought into it. Yeah. So
this whole time I thought the theme was enchantment by the sea.
Enchantment by the sea. Yeah.
Enchantment under the sea.
But by the sea, because the prison isn't under the sea.
But anyways.
Under the sea.
So
Fish under sea dance,
that is the theme according to Toby Hayes. Is the theme of the arc.
Like it was very stark in this episode because
Starks are from the other show.
Damn. Yeah. Because it was just everyone's having to make, like, going back to the prison break, like Cassian and Kino, they're sacrificing possibly their lives and everyone else's lives by initiating this prison break.
Right.
Mon Mothma's, having to deal with what is she still willing to sacrifice for this cause. Well, Luthen has this whole speech, right? So that take care.
We'll get there. Yeah.
And this was just when Davo ends up leaving and it's just her sitting there. I think she's.
Well, I love the line before that where she says, "I'm not considering it."
She was so snapped.
And Davo says, "That's the first time you've lied."
Yeah.
Right?
And it was just like
interesting line.
And I think she's just wrestling with, oh my God, am I
the bad guy?
What am I becoming? Like, what am I doing? How far am I going to go? Again, it's going back into this. What am I willing to sacrifice? And now it's bringing in my family.
Well, and sweetie, you've got a date next week.
And ultimately, it's the dichotomy between her and Luthen and her and Saw. Luthen and Saw are clearly people that are willing to do anything, whereas like she's someone who still has her scruples at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. She keeps her morals to an extent.
It's being tested at this point, right?
Right. Yeah. But like we ultimately know like where it ends up. She keeps most of her morals, but at the same time, we also know she's willing to make a sacrifice, right? What's the one memorable line of Carolyn Blackiston as Mon Mothma?
Many Bothans died to bring us these cups of calf.
These cups of calf. Yeah. So like that's the one the one line everyone remembers from Mon in the original trilogy is many Bothans died, right?
She cares.
But I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. But she does.
Because now you have. I don't mean to cut you off, but you have me thinking like Luthen's like, it's just 50 men. People die every day, and like Mon Mothma's like, people died for this.
Well, she says you're more important than 50. He says you're more important than 50.
Yeah, Talani. Yeah.
You know,
but not because he loves the guy, but because the guy is in a strategic point. That they need.
Because we know Luthen is incapable of love.
Well, I don't. Well,
he
once was. Yeah, he once was,
and he Voldemort?
That's part of. Anyway, but before we get to the whole Luthen thing, because that's really just super interesting. I don't know, Brandon, if you had anything on this whole interaction with Mon and how she's processing this path that she's going down, and will she ultimately entertain it? Because that was like, as you pointed out, he's like, you definitely are thinking about this. Don't lie to yourself or me.
I mean, it's crazy. It's such a well produced show because we have like 3 different story arcs basically going on. 4 if you count Ferrex, but we can kind of ignore that right now.
Yeah, just because it's too big a topic for us to talk about on this episode.
But we have the prison break, which is obviously the big thing, and not a sponsor. And
this episode's brought to you by Prison Break, a show on Fox from over a decade ago.
And we also have what's going on with Luthen and his network of spies and how he's trying to accomplish his goals while also trying to find Cassian. And then we have Mon Mothma, who's just trying to withdraw some money from the bank.
But you're having some real problems, Mon. Gosh.
But it's so interesting.
I can't get my family fortune.
Also, what a suave talker Davo is. Is like, and you should have your privacy.
You should be able to access your money. Yeah. That's what people.
He was called J.G. Wentworth.
That's what people who do tax evasion.
Oh my gosh,
say right. Yeah. Well, it's my money.
Look, they turn into a game, and we just play it, baby. And it's just like, dang. The guy was good. That guy was great.
Yeah, I really liked him. I think that Davo. I like him better as the head of the Daleks, but he's pretty good here.
Wrong podcast. Anything else?
So yeah, no, that was just super interesting and as like easy to when you oversimplify it, it sounds super trivial.
Sure. But it's 400,000.
It makes me wonder where this is going because I know she wants the money for the rebellion. But like, I feel like she has something specific in mind.
Well, we know that.
Is that going to be a future story thread once she finally gets her hands on this money?
We do know that at a certain point she was funneling money to Luthen.
Right.
We also know that technically she's already gotten the 400,000 and embezzled it. She's now trying to cover her tracks.
Yeah, that's
with
right.
another 400,000 is essentially what she's trying to do.
Basically covered.
She's trying to balance that.
But you're also bringing up a
good
point.
You're right because Luthen has funded his own venture.
Robbed Aldhani.
By
He doesn't
robbing Aldhani.
So you're right. What is she going to do with this 400,000?
It's interesting because like she is like basically like the future leader of the Rebel Alliance and the New Republic and everything. She's such an important character, an important part of this story. But so far in the show, we haven't really seen her do much except just worrying about money.
Right.
We've seen like Luthen and Cassian and all these other characters have much more of a like hands-on role.
Well, she has a much more
where she's just like she's trying to talk to this because she's trying to talk to the Senate. They're ignoring her. She's trying to raise money. She can't get it.
Well, if you had seen Star Wars Rebels,
I never heard of that.
You would know the turning point and that they've mentioned it in this series.
Yeah. Well, they're like building up.
They're building up the Gorlan Massacre.
Yeah.
So what I'm actually curious about, on the same coin of what you're saying, is where's Bail? Right?
Yeah.
Where's Bail Organa? Because we know at this time Bail's I think we've talked about this on the show already. Like we know Bail's already active in the galaxy as a
what is this?
Subversive
4 years after Obi-Wan?
This is I don't know about that.
Oh no, this is before.
I think
this is after Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
this is after Obi-Wan. This is about
5 years.
What I understand.
5 years after Obi-Wan.
Yeah, this is 5 years before. before A New Hope,
and
or
5
before
years
Rogue
after
One.
Obi-Wan, so it's like
That's
right
right,
in the
right, that's
middle.
right.
So Leia's back. She's saved thanks to Obi-Wan.
Well, Leia at this point, because the first season of Rebels, we see Leia
I mean, she's like 16
at I think she's 14.
Okay.
I think she's about Lita's age.
So
Yeah, she's
old
right
enough
around
to get
there,
married.
Yeah. Old enough to get married by Chandrillin custom. Yeah. We see Leia like working,
She drops off ships,
making
like, from the
rebel
Imperials.
delivery runs.
Yeah.
Right?
She brings like a whole bunch of like Imperial ships, and she pretends to get robbed basically by the rebels. Which it's a great episode with the rebels, anyways. Which I just watched because I'm doing a whole
Are you
rewatch.
really?
I'm rewatching them right now.
I should do a rewatch of Rebels.
Yeah, it's great. I'm
Rebels-
at the Bendu episodes. So good. You know anything about
Tom
Bendu.
Baker?
I've seen
man.
pictures of the
Tom Baker is so good in that role.
Phenomenal. There's a
The only thing I think he's better in
Bendu.
is when it's
not
when,
bad actually.
when he's interacting with Davo.
Yeah.
With the Daleks.
Okay. You really just, you have a really knack for drawing me in and then swerving right off the cliff.
You know what it's like? It's like
No, I know it's like I'm there.
It's
I'm
like
experiencing it.
it's like in Jackass when they walk up to the food
Oh, no.
trucks and the fist pops up.
Right.
I made this joke before the show about how we were like watching this show, and it's like, wow, like Luke Skywalker had it so easy. Like, yeah, it's so easy. He just shows up. The Rebel Alliance is already fully formed.
Yeah.
Basically has an army behind him. Learning how to use the Force. Has a lightsaber.
Well, he meets Obi-Wan on like day 2.
Yeah, these poor bastards
won.
have no idea who the hell Obi-Wan Kenobi
Yes, he spends 3 days in the rebellion and blows up the Death Star and becomes a hero. Meanwhile, all these other people have been working their ass off for years.
Like literally like sacrificing their entire lives, killing people.
Yeah.
like
Just bankrupting themselves morally.
living double lives.
Yeah.
Like
But
literally,
Luke-
like this one guy infiltrating the ISB has to go in and do like paperwork every day, trying to work hard for a promotion he doesn't even
Oh
want.
my gosh.
That's
Which
miserable.
6 years.
6 years.
All right, before we get there,
was gonna say.
we do get a scene of Dedra and Partagaz and
Lonnie.
Partagaz the Brown.
Who did it? Yeah, Partagaz Brown. Did we know Lonnie's name before this episode?
I did not.
Well, he has another name.
Maybe you're right.
We know him by his last name, and I can't remember what it is right now. But
I don't know. I'm not going to look it up.
this is the first time we've had his first name because we do get him addressed at least once in one of the ISB
Oh, yeah, we've definitely
meetings.
seen him a few times. Like he's had some.
Right, but he's been
lines
addressed
and-
directly.
Yes.
So we see this. They're talking about the Kafrene shipping lanes and how they found the ship and
Rings of
and the
Kafrene.
crash.
the Anton Krieger stuff.
Yeah, with Anton Krieger and Spellhouse. So
Millhouse.
Millhouse. Well, Spellhouse is a game store actually in Orange.
Oh.
Is a place called Spellhouse.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but if they want to sponsor me,
Sure.
use some free magic cards. So we get that scene, and with we get I forgot his name already. I just said
Lonnie?
it. Lonnie.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Nori.
No. What are? Oh boy.
That's Lord of the Rings.
I know. Yeah.
You watch too much stuff.
I watch too much stuff. Lonnie is like interacting directly with Partagaz. Like they want to
Yeah.
make sure like, hey, look at this guy's face, And then we get Luthen,
Yeah. The underworld. Oh, Luthen and Clea.
because
Yeah.
we don't really have anything else in that scene with the ISB. That's kind of our one ISB
Right.
scene.
I do want to say I don't. So it's that Predagaz, Dedra, and Lonnie. And Lonnie, he brings up we should do what we normally do. And I don't know about either of you, but I looked at that and I looked at Dedra. I was just like looking at this guy like there's another guy trying to
Right.
step in on my operation and take some credit
Well,
for doing.
there is a
stuff.
parallel there in the Luthen scene
with
what he says.
to Clea.
No, with him saying no. With what Lonnie says to Partagaz, he says we should do exactly what we normally do. There's a parallel there. when we
Oh,
get to
back with Luthen.
scene,
Yes. I get it.
because
Yeah.
he says because Luthen says, well, if we act or we warn them,
Then they'll know something's
then
up.
they know something's up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So both sides are now fully aware of everything except for Krieger. Krieger doesn't know shit.
No, poor Krieger.
But
or his
Luthen-
men that got captured. It's not because it's not actually Anton Krieger. It's one of his pilots that's been
Sure, but we
But-
know
but
that
yeah.
Krieger's leading a raid on Spellhouse with
right.
50.
About right. Yeah, he's about
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But it was very cool to see Coruscant underwater.
Oh, dude, I love it.
That was very.
I'm still mad that we're never going to get Star Wars Underworld.
The George Lucas.
Because like that would have been just fucking amazing. You know,
we think at least.
no, I think I know. Like
I know there was like they did a lot for that show that just never took off.
Well, no, but what I mean is even if that was like, you know, mid 2000s, you know, level of TV,
yeah.
I think it would have been, even if it's bad, it's still going to be good because we were so starved for
That's true.
adult live action Star Wars. There wasn't any of that, right?
If only they had the volume back then, they would have made it. Because that's pretty much
maybe.
because it was so. Because I think one of the lines or something I had read about was just like it came out to like a production like level of like a movie or like the cost production of like a movie for a TV show,
and nothing at the time was being made like that.
Like this is like 10 years, a decade before Game of Thrones.
Outside of the pilot of what's that one show that you've watched?
Lost.
Yeah, outside of the pilot for Lost, nothing was made on a movie budget.
Okay,
so
yeah,
Best show ever.
Was it?
Lost.
Never seen it.
My favorite.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
You know, next week I'll report back, let you know what I think about it.
He's gonna watch all 6 seasons 1 week.
So we're following Lonnie through the underworld, and he goes into the
Can I just say
elevator.
The costuming of the rebel agents whenever they're on a covert meeting, the costuming of the rebel agents has been so good.
Oh, sure.
Like Clea's and Vel's and Lonnie and Luthen, like it's all so great and
cloaks.
flowy and cloaks.
I gotta get a cloak.
You know, it's very
it's fall. We should all get cloaks.
I'm fucking down.
It's LA, it's Blade Runner, it's Star Wars. Do
we want is that gonna do you want to make that our new vibe? I've got a company we can use.
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe
We
talk
can
about
call
it.
ourselves Kids in Cloaks.
I don't know. And our mascot is a goat.
Kids in coats. Because a kid is a goat.
That's
you know,
right, that's right.
Guys, check out our new clothing company, Goats and Coats.
The best deal around.
Oh boy!
If you want to look like a badass, get yourself a cloak.
So we got Lonnie walking through the underworld, gets in that elevator, and he's like looking for the earpiece up there, all very spy cloak and dagger type of
he
stuff.
needs to grab his generic
Bluetooth
late
headset.
2000s
It was
Bluetooth
very
headset.
yeah. Just
No, I
making
was
sure
sorry.
it's
I was
all
Brandon and I were
You
talking
got
about
the
this.
sound effect. It's not a Bluetooth anymore.
Brandon and I were talking about this, where we've reached a point where like sci-fi technology can't get much more complex than what we have at a Star Wars level.
Sure.
Right? Because Star Wars is always this sort of like gritty, used, it's analog. We're going to do an episode on the look and feel of Star Wars, but Star Wars is analog. So even this level of like Bluetooth headset, normally we don't see headsets. It's a handheld comm link.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good
So
point.
It is funny how, like, obviously since Star Wars was first made in 1977, like they had to like use their imagination for what futuristic technology would be like. So now Star Wars is kind of like limited to that, where it's like
a little bit,
it's futuristic, but it's also dated at the same time.
Like you'll never see like an LED screen ever.
like they can literally,
I think what we had today in the ISB
like
command center was the closest we had to like an LED screen.
Yeah.
like they could literally like travel across the galaxy at the speed of light, but like if you showed one of those characters your iPhone, it'd probably blow their mind.
Right.
You're like, what do you mean? I could just look things up and it'll tell me anything I want?
What is this iMessage?
That's the whole reason I joined the dark side. I guess I don't have to be evil anymore.
Lightning cable.
I don't
What
really know
about
what to
lightning
do anymore.
fingers?
I don't know what to do right now.
Do a Sidious line.
No.
About an iPhone.
Like, what would happen if you like put like a really good video game in front of Palpatine? Like, do you think he'd like play it and
What
go
is
down a hole
this?
for weeks?
Force Unleashed.
Unleashed. I like that. I like to unleash.
Could you imagine
my force.
Palpatine playing like Grand Theft Auto?
Oh, absolutely.
You're like, Emperor, you have to like sign these bills into law, and you gotta like do it's
I'm on the next level. Be quiet.
I got all these missions. I got a gang war.
You know what game I think Palpatine would really like? There's a game called Cult of the Lamb, where you build your own cult and you have followers, and your Twitch followers can actually join your cult. And then you can make human sacrifices and build up laws and power. And if you want to see more of that, go check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Sean Sully. If you're watching this on the day it comes out, I will be streaming on Twitch on there tonight. And you can join my cult if you really want to.
Sean
I
Sullivan
already
creating
have a
cult.
cult. It's on Exegol. They're
Exegol?
making me fleets
Is it
of
Exegol?
ships.
Execult.
Execult?
They like to wear red.
All right. So let's get back to Lonnie and Luthen so we can wrap up this episode. Our episode, not, well, I guess both episodes, actually.
Yeah, that's the last. Yeah.
What episode?
Yeah. So going up this elevator, he's talking to Luthen, and it's like, is it a trap? Dial 215 and star 69, whatever. And
And then he says, okay, we'll have privacy.
yeah, we'll have privacy. And by
he
the way,
says-
congratulations on the daughter.
Congratulations.
yeah.
And
Sorry
it's
I
like,
wasn't there to hand out
is that
cigars.
Is that a threat?
Yeah. Actually, and so this is such an interesting interaction.
I love this is
Oh.
we talked about we've talked about a few times, like the best lines in Star Wars are the best, like
this whole
this
thing.
whole shot, this whole scene
sequence.
is just like some of my favorite lines in Star Wars. Period.
Can I just read it so just to set what
You wanna
we're-
read the
yeah,
whole
I'm gonna-
speech?
Yeah. It's,
You got to do it in the
I gotta-
voice.
Yeah,
Calm, kindness,
That's pretty good.
kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless place. I share dreams. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight. They've set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearned to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I looked down, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. And the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
you know,
Yeah.
you got better as you went on.
That was
I
good.
started
At first,
like
it
a
was
little
like
bit,
Chicago Luthen, you know, or as I like to call him, Chi-Town Lulu. But
Yeah.
I joined the rebellion, don't you know?
I mean, look, I don't know how much I want to say other than you just reading the speech, because that sells it, right? But like,
So good.
I don't know. I think we've had this. For me personally, I've been trying to understand Luthen. Like, where is he coming from? What's his point? And while
he
this
go?
doesn't actually explain anything,
It does say a lot.
it does say a lot, and it also does a lot to illustrate why him and Clea have had such conflict. Because I do think Luthen is trying to hold on to a little bit of what he claims he's sacrificing
Yeah,
here.
Clea seems way
Because Clea
far
seems
gone.
way off the
Yeah,
deep end. Like
Compared
she's
to him.
she's made all these sacrifices, right? But Luthen, it seems like he's still trying to hold on. Like he sees a glimmer of that with Cassian. He sees a glimmer of that with Vel and with Clea and with like, when during the Eye, when he's like trying to listen on the radio for an update, because he is legitimately worried about his agents in the field, right?
Yeah.
And Clea's like,
I think, yeah.
we can't.
I mean, and when he tells Lonnie, he's like, I think about you all the time.
I believe him.
I absolutely believe
Yeah.
him. Because he sympathizes with Lonnie, because while they are doing different things, they're one and the same in the sense that they are trapped.
Right.
They're trapped in this fight. Lonnie's trapped in the Imperials. Luthen has trapped himself in this cause and breaks down what he's given up. Again, what he sacrificed to lead this cause, and how damned he is for doing it, and how much of himself he's losing by doing it. But he's doing it because he believes in the rebellion, and someone needs to be the heroes. And he has a very interesting way of framing what a hero
everyone-
is at this point.
Well, but it also goes back to Brandon's point of Luke Skywalker editing.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, this show does such a good job at making you feel like the Empire is suffocating. Like everyone is trapped. Like, there's you can feel the weight of it on almost every single character. I'm thinking even the guards in that prison, even though we don't see them in any sympathetic light. You can,
Well, I don't know. There is that one shot. There is that one shot in this episode where they're all huddling in that like janitor closet or whatever.
I don't feel bad.
right,
for 'em,
yeah.
though.
I don't know. I feel a little bit. I definitely feel like that fear of like
Well, yeah, for sure.
everyone in this hallway
But-
wants to kill me right
Yeah.
now.
But also I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, they're prisoners just as much as the actual prisoners are.
In a
Like,
sense, yeah.
I
think so.
bet they're not allowed to leave that stupid base.
No.
You
or
know?
it's very
No.
it's very much like an oil rig where like you gotta wait for someone
Yeah.
to come get you.
It's like
to
they
get off your rotation
It's
or
like
whatever.
they probably they get better food. They don't have to like do the hard labor. But like aside from that, they're stuck there too.
This actually
It
brings
must,
up
it
an-
must suck.
This actually brings up an episode in Rebels I just watched where Ezra is like this feels very much like if you're the Empire, you got demoted to this. Like you've been, maybe you were up high and you just got demoted and you've been what's the word? I can't even think of the word. You've been demoted to
Yeah.
a floating prison where it's just like
Right. Yeah.
And
You know,
and
they live on there as
Right.
well.
Well,
for an
it's
extended
the
time, I'm
it's
sure.
the Cheer It line, right? There's more than one. There's more
Yeah,
than one
yeah.
kind of prison.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
and like I don't know, my brain's freezing for a second.
It all- mine
I
always does,
short
don't worry.
circuited. I was like, but oh my god, I blame Frank. I blame
You
Frank.
blame me because
Well, we were talking-
Hashtag blame Frank.
we were,
Hashtag
we
blame
were
Frank,
talking
yeah.
about them being prisoners. But no, this is what I was gonna say. They probably signed up for the Empire voluntarily. But
Yeah.
I bet
Well,
I bet you if they wanted to leave that prison, the Empire would be like, well, you can't because no one's supposed to know about this prison.
Right.
So we'll just kill
Well,
you.
it's
Yeah.
the right. Like I mean, look at
Or we'll throw you in the prison.
you know,
right,
no
you know.
shame to any of our viewers who have served in or been a part of the U.S. Armed Forces. But if you look at like U.S. Army or U.S. Marines ads, it's see the world. Like it's the same way. It's the same way when you're seeing an advertisement for the Stormtrooper Corps or the Imperial Navy.
Yeah.
It's not like you're gonna
Yeah.
it's like whenever you see a recruitment poster or a recruitment ad on TV, it's going to glamorize it, and I'm sure that that's what these people were looking for. Go to an exotic world and
Yeah.
work for the security of the Empire.
Um,
They're on an exotic world,
Let-
stuck in the middle of the fucking ocean.
Right. Let's bounce back to the Luthen.
Bounce?
back to the Luthen stuff because there was. I mean, the one line that really just stuck out to me that I kind of want to touch on was, "I share my dreams with ghosts." I think that says so much about
Yeah.
how he operates and the sacrifices that he is full well knowing. Again, it goes to the Anton Krieger stuff again about it's 50 men, Lonnie. You're worth
Right.
more than you alone are worth more than those 50 men. I
Sure.
need you.
Well,
and
and
his
then-
dreams with ghosts is like, I feel like he still talks to people like Nemec in his dreams of people that he has put out there and who have sacrificed themselves for the cause, and they did it believing in the cause, and I think he has sympathy or empathy for for what they have sacrificed because he is sacrificing every day of everything he's listed in this monologue, and I don't know, that line just really really stuck out to
Well,
me.
it also ties really well to I'm burning myself for a sunrise.
I
will never live to see.
I was literally just gonna say that.
Yeah,
That's
because
another one,
and it
yeah.
also ties back to the prison as well, where the prison, everyone's already dead. Luthen sees himself as already dead,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, I think that
Yeah.
line builds on it too. It's also a great reference to, I think he's on the phone every night, calling Hera, who's part of the crew of the Ghost.
yeah.
Hey Hera, I had a dream last night.
Yeah.
That I was running through a field
Run-
of a free republic,
And I couldn't swim.
and I couldn't swim.
And and I said this a couple of weeks ago, where I was like, Luthen and Saw are very much on the similar wavelengths.
Similar
wavelengths.
but different enough where I think they work as really good foils to each other.
Sure, but I also think like that's why you see why we saw Luthen reach out to Saw and be like, but he wants to keep doing what they're doing. Luthen wants to keep doing what he's doing and what Saw's doing, but he wants it on a larger, more organized scale. About
I think
and
that-
whereas Mon is going to completely differ with these ideas of how to go about the rebellion.
I think the key difference with Luthen to the other two to the other two of them is that Luthen wants a united front. Well, no. Luthen wants a network, right? Mon doesn't want a network because Mon doesn't want to be held responsible for the actions of others. And Saw doesn't want to throw in with people whose ideals he doesn't agree with.
Sure.
Right? Because, and I think those are the same as far as Mon and Saw, right? Because what I mean by Mon doesn't want to be held responsible for the actions of others, like someone like Saw, who's an extremist, who's going to commit war crimes and atrocities, right? Mon doesn't want to be seen to support that. Or rather, not even be seen. Mon doesn't want to support that, right? At her core, that's Mon's struggle, right? What is right in war, right?
Yeah.
She's not by any means necessary. She's, wants to do it right. Luthen, like Saw, kind of doesn't have morals, but at the same time, he thinks it's important for all of the factions, whether or not they agree or disagree. The only way that you can end the Empire is to work together, or help each other or aid each other. And, as we see, again, I keep drawing back to Rebels today because I think it's important. We see in Rebels where Mon just doesn't want that. Right?
Yeah, and I think also he says in his speech here that he has to do the same things the Empire does. And that's where Luthen and Mon differ, right? Mon doesn't believe they have to use the same tactics as the Empire does in order to succeed in their mission, right? But Luthen feels like we have to do the same thing that they're doing to us because we have to fight fire with fire. Is basically what he's
which is why
I feel
in the original trilogy, I mean, for the most part, the rebellion does, they don't commit any war crimes.
I mean,
they're not holding children hostage in the original trilogy.
It seems like they're like past that, and the events of Rogue One was like the turning point. Where, like people like Cassian don't have to shoot people in the street because they can't climb up a wall, and they're gonna be captured and give away information.
But again, from a storytelling standpoint,
That was very specific.
From a storytelling standpoint, that's not saying that's not still happening. It's just that the story being told in the original trilogy isn't about that.
Yeah, what's interesting
because there are expanded media books and comics and stuff that do show that stuff still happening.
And what's really really interesting now is I think as Disney and Lucasfilm begin to explore, wherever in the timeline, especially when it pertains to the Skywalker saga, it's like, okay, here's like the general overview of what's going on, and now we're going to go dive deep into this one segment, blow it up, and here's what's going on inside all of it. But so you get a more nuanced type of exploration of that time period as opposed to what you can do in a 2.5 hour movie. And like, here's the broad strokes of what's going on in the Clone Wars, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in the Clone Wars, you can dive deeper into what's going on with you learn about the clones and all that stuff. So you can do stuff more with TV shows or animated shows, whatever, where you can pump out 8, 10, 12, 20 episodes as opposed to a 6 or 9 2.5 hour movies.
We kind of talked about it on Monday with
Jerry, right.
It's Star Wars getting smarter. As Star Wars gets smarter and tells smarter stories and tells more nuanced stories, the conflicts are going to get more nuanced and the conflicts are going to get deeper, and these characters are going to get more flawed, right?
Yeah,
and
it's not as black and white,
right,
anymore. It's not bad guy, good guy.
Star Wars is meant, like the overall story of Star Wars is meant to be black and white.
Yeah.
But when we dive a lot closer on these smaller examples, like, that's where you can get more nuanced. But I do think the story of Star Wars at its core is meant to be black and white.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And then it's when you get into all these other shows where you're able to dive in deeper and see more internal struggles from all these other characters. Not obviously like the big three of Luke, Han, and Leia, but everyone else that's within. What is the rebellion really like? What is the Empire really like on a very personal, intimate level? And Andor is really just taken that approach and done it masterfully, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Final thoughts on the episode, Brando? What do you got?
Just try spinning. That's a good trick.
Yep, I agree. Do we want to?
Well, I mean, what do we think's going to happen going into episode 11?
I don't know. I'm totally lost at what the next step is, right? Because the final 2 episodes is going to be one solid arc, right? And that could be a solid arc of the Ferrix, the stuff on Ferrix, and I think that would be really fitting. Or it could be, it could be a lot of things, but I do think, because ultimately we have to get a finale, right?
Right.
Like it's got to be something that is a finale, and I think that's the only fitting finale is a rebellion on Ferrix. Because we started on Ferrix, we're going to end on Ferrix. It's going to go full circle. We have no other hanging threads.
Do you think? I don't know, Brandon. Do you think you living over there? You good? We got to get you a med.
Lies, deception, pork cutlet.
Pork cutlet?
Pork cutlet.
That too. I could go
It's
for a
his.
pork.
It's his dinner order. He'd like 1 lies and deception on the rocks and a pork cutlet.
Damn, that sounds like a great time, Brandon.
Now I need to make a drink called the lies and deception.
Yeah, you do. You do got to come up with that. Do you think we're gonna go to Ferrix right away, or is that episode 12?
Well, I think we'll probably see
Well,
Cassian.
I mean, that's what I mean.
there,
Do we
yeah,
see
in
Cassian
episode
on Ferrix, or do you
12? Yeah, and I think this season is going to end with him joining the rebellion. I think he's going to come head to head with Luthen, and it's going to be I want to kill you because you know my name, and he's going to be like, I want to join, and they go, okay, I won't kill you, but I'm watching you.
I'm curious
Did you read the manifesto? It's good, right?
It's right. You
I don't-
still got to read it.
I don't think Luthen wants to kill Cassian.
No, I don't think so either.
Luthen still has some faith in Cassian. I think that ultimately,
Especially, I don't think he's going to want to, especially after he hears about the jailbreak. I think that's
like,
I'm
damn, this
curious
guy's
about how
good.
that news
Well,
is
okay.
going to reverberate across the
Let's-
galaxy and what that does for people.
I mean, do we want to just raw?
This guy just doesn't miss.
Do we just want to raw speculate on what the next episode is? Because I've got
Yes.
wild raw speculation.
Yeah.
Remember, folks, speculate responsibly. And if this doesn't happen, I won't be sad, right? Whatever.
Right.
We know Luthen has to go back and get the manifesto at some point.
Andor. Cassian, the manifesto.
What did I say?
You said Luthen.
That's what you said.
No, I didn't.
I said Cassian.
No, you said Luthen.
What did I say?
Luthen.
Okay. We know Cassian has to go back and get the manifesto at some point because otherwise, what's the
Right.
point of that?
Can't leave a
But-
good book behind.
Yeah, never leave a good
No book
behind.
left behind. Right.
So we know Cassian's going to go back for that at one point. We could see him and Melshi go back and get that and then go to Ferrix, assuming that the last 2 episodes is sort of centered around the Ferrix arc. Because we have the gentleman whose name I can't remember is going to get hanged.
Oh, Pack.
Thank you. We have Bix still in prison.
Right.
We have a little bit of a Marva thread there, and we have Cinta on Ferrix. So all signs are pointing to them going back to Ferrix, right? So, or at least that something is going to happen on Ferrix in the finale. Whether or not that involves Cassian, I don't know. I think that's the only logical thing. So I think Cassian and Melshi go back to Ferrix, and I think that Cinta's going to try to kill him, and I think that Vel's going to intervene and stop it.
I think I do think that part might happen.
Yeah.
The Vel Cinta. There's going to be
We've got to have.
they're going to have a confrontation of, Vel's like, don't kill Cassian. Cinta's like, it's for the cause.
Yeah.
I feel like that could possibly be a thing.
Because I think Vel and Luthen both have faith in Cassian's ability to change and ability to kind of see the light, right? I don't know that it's grounded for Vel to actually think that. I do think it makes sense for Luthen to think that because Luthen has a lot more of a basis to draw on for Cassian. But definitely from what we saw with Vel initially, when she's first getting that kind of assignment from Clea, Vel's like, why would we kill him? We don't need to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's where we're going to see a setup for next season of maybe the first 6 episodes of next season or something is going to deal with Luthen's moral compass, right? Because we don't know, there's a chance Luthen dies at the end of this season, right? But I don't think Luthen's around for the events of Rogue One,
right?
Or the events of the original trilogy. It's possible that he is, right? And then that gives us something to build on for other stories during that time frame.
Sure.
I would prefer that because I think the character is so good and so interesting. But I with the way the show's going, I just don't think that's likely.
Because he operates as if he has an expiration date. And what if it's not as soon as he thinks it is, and he still has to live with what he's done?
And because we know, and because it seems like General Draven is running that special forces arm of the rebellion at the time of Rogue One.
Right.
So once it gets a little more militarized, that's where that is.
Yeah, that's where.
But it's also possible that just Cassian and Melshi will eventually come into contact with Mon, and Luthen's still out there operating on his own.
Right.
That's a possibility too.
I wonder. I have this idea of maybe Cassian goes back to Ferrix. Luthen figures out he's going to go back there after he breaks out, or he hears about the escape. And I think you're going to have everybody. Ferrix is going to become ground zero for the finale, and it's going to next week's going to set up. Everyone's heading to Ferrix. Everyone's heading to Ferrix. I don't think anything major will happen on Ferrix in episode 11. But it's gonna set up all the pieces for everyone's going to Ferrix for one reason or another. Cinta's obviously there waiting for Cassian. Maybe we don't even see Vel. I don't know. Maybe she
it's possible because there is sort of that line about Vel going back to go live as a rich girl for a little bit. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's been set up for that to be a conflict, and I think that would make. Yeah. I think if Cinta's going to make a move on Cassian, I think that would make a lot of sense for Vel to be there to sort of act as a counterbalance to that.
Yeah, I wonder if a lot of people are going to really start to define, or you're going to see a lot of people's true colors. I think perhaps more so than we have seen between.
Can I give Brandon a signed reading?
You can try.
I can't read basic.
Okay, great. It's viewing. How about that? You don't have to watch all Rebels, but go find the Mon Mothma and Saw Gerrera episodes of Rebels.
Ooh,
and watch. Good. I think that I have a feeling, and if you're watching at home, I have a feeling that before these last 2 episodes, you're going to want to watch those, just because I think that we're going to have to get either in the next 2 episodes or the first few of next season, those episodes I think are going to be very relevant to this show.
You've come here to make me a cartoon. There's not much of me left.
Hold on. He was a cartoon first, Brando.
Yeah.
He started as a cartoon.
With that, I think we can wrap it up. I think we've all said what we've needed to say on Andor.
On Andor, yeah.
I'm curious what everyone else thinks about how these last 2 episodes are going to wrap up.
Yeah, let us know. Put in the comments. Go ahead and put your own personal screenplay for the next 2 episodes.
And 100 pages at least.
And I will edit and revise and tell you the grammatical errors.
Yeah.
A page a minute, so it should be about 80 pages.
Well, I mean, I want longer episodes. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, I do too, but I think that
I do think the finale could be fairly lengthy. I think it'll be the longest episode. Which could be even by a minute.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's 58 minutes, whatever, or something.
I wonder. Well, these episodes have been generally about 45 if you shave off the credits.
Yeah, it's like this one's like 40, I think, or something.
This one was, I think, somewhere around there. Yeah. So I think maybe 50-minute episodes for the 2 back-to-back finales, I think would make sense, just because we're fitting a whole arc into 2 episodes.
Yeah, and you got everybody, I think, coming to a head.
Well, it's a lot easier. That's also why I think it's going to take place on Ferrix, because it's a lot easier to tell that story if everyone's in one spot, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want the set to go to waste.
No. Yeah, they built a set.
Yeah,
so
that thing is,
and they're not going to use it next season. So
well, we don't know. You don't know.
I know.
I am curious to see what we're going to get with Cyril in these next 2 episodes. Because again, we didn't see him. We didn't see him in this episode.
Cereal.
Yeah. So
I wonder if he just goes on his own Rambo style to.
Well,
Ferrix.
I don't know. If you've seen some of his interviews where he has that beard, right?
No. Well, I think he just has a beard.
But they're starting to film season 2 of Andor like next week.
Sure,
or this
but
week.
he could shave
So,
it
like,
before then.
He could, or he's growing it because he needs it for an episode of season 2 in Andor.
I don't know. It doesn't look very good.
Of course, it's not going to look good. He's out in the wild. You know, he's doing his own thing. He's professing his love to Dedra, who probably likes beards. I don't know.
Wild man Cyril Karn.
All right.
Maybe he'll be Dedra's beard.
Maybe. Is that it? And
That's
that's it.
I guess.
Look, guys, if you liked this episode, if you liked our show, if you enjoy this,
Or
please,
if you even have pity on us.
yeah, or if you hated it, if you hated this show, tell us in the comments. If you think Brandon needs to not wear all black because he looks like he's gonna do puppetry after this, tell us in the comments. If you think Frank shouldn't wear his glasses on camera anymore,
I'm
tell
not
us in
going
the
to wear them
comments.
next week.
If you think that I shouldn't wear this jacket because it makes me look fatter on camera, please tell me in the comments.
You want to know why I'm wearing glasses?
I do, yeah.
Because when I was at work,
You got poked in the eye.
I poked myself in the eye real bad.
Oh,
it was.
my goodness.
It was.
Did you
I bruised.
Did you puncture a contact?
No. Actually, I didn't. I just bruised blood vessels in my eye,
Ow.
and so I had to take these drops to help heal the blood vessels. But I can't wear.
Did you
my
go to a
contacts.
doctor?
Yeah, I did go. Yeah, it happened at work, so I went to like the clinic at
Dr.
work,
Afra.
I hate those work clinics.
and it wasn't that bad actually.
Wait,
'cause
do
it
you
was,
have
like,
one
right across
at
the
work
street.
on site?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, basically. So
I
had
saw
to
that.
wear. I have to wear the glasses for a little bit. I don't like it. These are really old glasses.
Really?
too.
I think you look fine in glasses.
It's fine, but I'd
the
rather not
glasses
wear
You
them.
gang
look
today.
kind of like 90s like intellectual hacker with the with the goatee, the backwards hat, and, and the glasses. Like,
Oh my god, I can see it. Yeah, Jesus. All right, let's end this episode.
it's a
now.
look that works. for you.
Let's end it. Let's end this now.
Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.